This is the shit that runs through my head.
I know.
I'm
just love letting you go. This is great.
Yeah, you probably don't get to do this on yours. You're trying to get the other person to do that.
Yeah, but the reason I did the podcast was because I didn't. When I originally was going to start the podcast, this is what it was going to be, monologuing.
Mhm.
But then I thought to myself, like, I can tell you high level, I can get into the weeds on some things, but I'm not exceptionally gifted at any of these one topics. I am not the one that should be telling people this. Other people should. I'm a consumer of knowledge, a regurgitator of some. The ones where I feel comfortable saying, talking about. And the other thing I didn't want to do is, I'm talking from my own thoughts. That's going to get isolated very quickly.
Mm.
But what I did notice was when I sat people down, I believe, and I could be wrong when I say this, but people are Venn diagrams. You come from a different world than I do. You come from a different world than I do. When we have conversations, we seem to have these moments where we kind of connect.
100%.
My comment about hockey, my comment about the conversations we were having beforehand. That Venn diagram is, in my opinion, the calculation for a podcast.
Oh, absolutely.
Take two separate people, talk about the differences, combine on the things that we have alike, find the similarities. That is literally, like, if you extrapolate that, that's how societies can stay intact. People realize that Venn diagram is actually more share, less separate. And we're actually not different. The one thing that I enjoy about a podcast, and what you guys have allowed me today, is a prime example of that. You bring guests on to have a conversation, but sometimes you might spend 60 minutes fucking listening.
Yeah. 100%.
Absolutely.
That's what we always say, because we do 2 episodes a week, and we do one with a guest and one with just him and I. And with our buddy Murph, who cuts up and produces and does all the stuff.
Shout out Murph.
Yeah, shout out to Murph.
The unsung
he
hero.
the unsung hero of the podcast. He used to be sitting right there and have a mic in front of him, but and so he would kind of be more part of the show than he is now. But there's times where, because he'll send us the clips for us to post on social media, and I'd be like, well, there wasn't as much. You didn't say as much in this one, or like,
but that's fine.
But it's totally fine.
Because
it's like that's the whole point of a guest, and that's kind of one of the nice parts
giving
about
you
just
the
doing
spotlight.
Yeah, exactly. Because then we get another episode, which we're gonna do about an hour from now, which is him and I, and but we're talking the whole time. So it's don't ever feel like you're hogging the.
Which do you prefer, the one with the guests or the one between yourselves?
I really, I love having the guests here. I really do, because it's like I feel like I'm getting I feel like I get an education from doing this.
Same.
Some of them.
You're getting to learn about somebody that you may not know about. A lot of the guests that we've had on have been people that Zach has known and that I'm getting to know through sitting across from, just like this. And it's been very eye opening just to see how people think and how, like, everybody's different but same at the same time. And it's just been it's been eye opening, and it's been a lot of fun just hearing people's stories and letting them talk.
Do you think that everyone is inherently interesting?
No. I mean, I feel like what's interesting to you is not necessarily always going to be what's interesting to me. Like, I feel like that's a very subjective question, like to that person.
Let me better ask my question. Do you think everyone has a story that they can tell that's interesting?
Yeah, some of our favorite episodes is where I've said very little.
Yeah. Same.
I can think of, we had a guy on that literally rollerbladed across America from Venice Beach to Times Square. Like, that was, I think that was the episode where Pat and I said, like, the least.
Yeah.
We
just sat there and let him tell a story.
It was fucking crazy.
I asked my one thing, and that was that. Really.
Yeah. I mean, we literally were like,
value add.
Yeah. We were like literally just like asking 1 or 2 random questions. Like, so wait, what did you do for it? And then he would go for like 20, 30 minutes, and then, all right,
just
let me ask one more question.
Just leading things just to kind of keep him, just let him roll, because it was such a great story.
Yeah.
So,
are you surprised at how much you've grown at this from episode 1 to 100?
Oh,
By the
yeah.
way,
Absolutely.
I watched your episode 100, and I loved what you did.
Thank you.
How you made episode 100 about, like, your favorite moments of all the guests that you just had.
Yeah.
I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Forgive me. I want to be completely transparent. Of your 100 episodes, I think I've listened to probably like 13 or 14. Granted, I didn't know about your podcast until about episode 56. But I will say that I enjoy your approach immensely.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's why.
Who was episode 56? I'm just curious.
No, sorry. Which one was Woody?
Oh man, it was probably mid 50s. Yeah, it had to be right around then. Yeah.
56 might not be the right number, but when you
guys
guys had Woody on,
yeah,
because I had Woody as a friend, and by the way, I didn't have Instagram at the time, and I was still forming the podcast, so like I didn't create the podcast Instagram yet.
Dude, your Instagram's great.
Thank you.
I
Dude,
love
it's all
it.
memes.
It's just all
fucking
memes. It's just memes. That's all it is. I love it.
I got to keep the dark urges away.
I got
with-
like
with funny
4
shit.
people that I follow that literally just like they just post memes. You're one of them, and like you guys, you'll post something and then like I send it to all my friends. You know? Like,
Oh God, I hope not. You're gonna lose friends.
yeah.
I watched that episode with Woody and I enjoyed it because like Woody, not a lot of people know Woody. But Woody's got a story. To
Oh
Oh,
God, he's
yeah.
got stories for days.
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't know Woody. He's got stories.
Oh, he's so good.
And that's isolated to the perspective that I have on Woody because I know Woody. Everyone has a story. It is sometimes shielded or guarded, perhaps buried.
Hmm.
If we do our job right, everybody has a story that's intriguing or educating, what have you. It might not be in a field of joy. And I'm sure you guys consume podcasts, but like I went from watching every episode of JRE to watching only I read the description, partially because of time,
Mhm.
but also because of what I'm interested in. Sometimes I get thrown a curveball, like the JRE with like the lady with the honey, with the honey
the bees, yeah, great.
I watched
episode.
all of that. I was
Yeah,
like, oh, this is intriguing, right?
A hot chick that does bees,
Yeah.
that makes honey, and yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I left that part out.
I mean, come on.
As a married man, I would never
Yeah.
say that.
I mean, come on. I mean, let's be real.
But also with like my limited amount of time, I have to really pick and choose what I consume. So when I tell you guys that I consume your podcast, that is like the highest praise I can give
We
anybody.
appreciate that.
I love
Yeah,
your podcast.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
that,
We
yeah.
I love yours as well. And being a guest on it, it was so cool to go in and just see how someone else does it. Because I've been on, other than our own, I think I've been on yours and like 2 others. But like I feel like yours was it made me really realize, oh wow, like I do mine in my basement. You have a nice you have a nice studio. Like I'm like, oh man, maybe we need to get a studio. I was just like all these things.
I think it's different strokes for different folks. And I presented to you, I remember we had a conversation beforehand. It's like I did certain things because of certain reasons. I knew when I planned mine, it was always for scope growth or just growth in general. Like the reason why we did VMix and not OBS was because if I ever wanted to get to a point where
What's
I want
VMix and what's OBS?
talk about that, it's,
Okay.
it's the operating system that I use to record everything, right?
Okay.
I don't want to give too much of like how the sausage is made, so to speak. But
Right.
let's just say 2 operating systems that do the same thing, vastly in different ways. VMix is $1,000 license. OBS is free. Why did I choose VMix? I could have easily used OBS and still used OBS to this day. The problem is, VMix allows me the opportunity, if I get the right guest at the right time, jump on the opportunity for a simulcast webcast where like someone could be Demetrius Johnson way of
Mm.
like, you're on a webcam, I'm on a webcam, but I'm still in my studio. And the reason I did VMix is because it has the ability to do that, record that, and in 1080. Spent $1,000 on that before we even did our first episode, just in case. And I want to say this, but I also do not want to make it sound like anybody else did it wrong. Everybody will do their things their way for what works for them. That's how it is. When I set out to do the podcast, I went to Matt and said, listen, my budget, and way over that fucking budget.
Mm.
This is what I want to do. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. And our options for what we want to do later on are immense. But I also don't want to fall into this trap. What got you in is no. That's why I like your podcast so much. Because I'm going to say something that's going to sound like an insult. It's actually how hard is it when you have a very awesome guest, very good conversation, and it gets 7 minutes?
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
sucks. doesn't
Sucks,
it?
dude. Oh, we've had
Yeah.
a couple of those. Where
Yeah.
I'm just like, fuck, this was like one of my
You-
favorite episodes.
Yeah.
I'm
Thought
like,
it was going to be a banger.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that one's gonna hit.
And then the
for
ones
sure.
that you're like, huh, that one got the most views.
Yeah, all the time.
I-
Surprised.
I'm realizing that what I find interesting is not what everyone else finds interesting.
Yeah.
All I can do is try to bring that interest out
Mhm.
and let the market decide. Just because I
Yeah.
think a guest is amazing. Listen, I think I had a great rant.
Yeah.
Maybe
It
people
was
turned it off after minute 5. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? We don't fucking.
For
No.
sure. Yeah.
But the reason I respect you guys so much is the hustle. How hard was it to get to episode 10, episode 50? Now you're at episode 100. What is the goal of the podcast? What is the goal of this endeavor that you guys are spending time doing? Because this is what, 2.5, 3 hours a week that you guys are spending, more or less?
Yeah.
3 hours.
3 hours, you
roughly,
could be
yeah. Like we said all the time, we look forward to sitting down with people every week because it's like, how often do we really sit down, have phones off, sit here and just like actually, I feel like I learned something with every guest, and it's also I feel like I've gotten better at just having conversations, which helps me in my job and just in
Right.
life in general. That's been one of the things that I feel like I've noticed the most.
How much value is the network?
Oh,
It's
yes,
incredible.
for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you look
Same.
at all the the social media and all the other stuff that the podcast has created,
Professionalism.
yes, yeah,
It's
that's-
building a brand.
Bro, own it. You're
Yeah.
doing this shit.
yeah.
It's fucking hard.
I love our studio.
I love this shit.
It's personal. It's
Thank you.
personalized to us. I mean, yeah, it's not a fancy studio by any means, but we created it. We built it. It's got everything in here that represents us, and it's relaxing. I think it's just a relaxing environment that can breed a good conversation.
I felt safe and comfortable from entrance to sure when I exit.
Sure.
So-
Other than the big scary dog up there, right?
I got a puppy. I know how that goes. Can I ask you another question if you don't mind?
100%.
Absolutely.
What is like, do you guys have a 1, 5, 10 year? Is this like a hobby that you're just doing for fun? What are some of the goals you have for this? Is this to help the real estate? Because I'm sure this kind of correlates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where it stemmed from. Really, is I was a guest on Murph's podcast. I was like, man, it was really fun, and him and I were already getting together once a week to film content. Like we'd sit down, and it started out with me just like coming up with like a script. All right, today I want to talk about an FHA loan, and but it always sounded like I was reading off a script. So eventually Murph was like, okay, what do you want to talk about today? And so he just like asked me questions, and I just riff on the mic for 5 minutes, and then he just like clip out the best minute or two, and that was the Instagram reel. And then
By the way, you talked about my memes, but dude, you produce some funny fucking shit. The
Thank
one where
you.
you're like, if you're not this big,
Yeah.
keep your fucking
Yeah.
mouth down.
Yeah.
You're like, hey guys,
Yeah.
I'm selling a house. I died.
yeah, that's one of my favorite
I
ones. I've
fucking
ever
love
done.
that one.
Yeah.
The last
If
one
this
where you're
is
just-
you.
Yeah.
You shut the fuck. Or it was like, yeah, this is you.
Keep your mouth, or keep your voice down.
Keep your
That was-
tone down
That
or
was
something.
fucking genius.
Hey guys, I got this new listing.
I didn't even, dude. I remember I was watching that. I was like, "Holy shit!" I was dying laughing. My wife was like, "Shut up!" I was like, "Baby, watch this." That's fucking genius.
Yeah.
The last one too, where you're just sliding.
Yeah, oh, that one was good. Yeah, because first we were run like I was like getting like a running start and like sliding on my shoulder. He's like, man, and then like popping up to my elbow to do the thing. He's like, it'd be so much funnier if you could slide in like this. I was like, yeah, but I'm not ready to like ruin my shoulder just for this video, you know? Like he's like, well, I'll just get it. He goes, I'll put the camera on a tripod and I'll just grab your legs and slide you in.
No one understands the behind
Yeah.
the scenes.
That's what I was like after we posted it. I was like, God damn it! Why didn't I set my phone up and get like a video of you posting this, or like you? Because that would have been so funny. But anyway, like as I was saying, it started out with us.
just real quick though.
Yeah.
That is genius marketing,
Thank you.
because now more than ever, the I know that you guys did the sponsors at the beginning and talked off the record, but people now, and this is not me saying this. This is like market research. People value authenticity than anything else in terms of marketing. So like the ad reads and stuff like that, you will start seeing those become less and less relevant. You will start seeing people in general conversation. That's what I believe. So like when you're doing the memes, but the memes are the portal for you selling a home, already ahead of the curve.
Thank
Because that's authentic. That's genuinely funny. I'm not even interested in buying the home. Now I'm watching your video
Yeah, I
because I'm
want to
like,
see the
this
house.
motherfucker's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah,
Now, maybe I'll buy a home.
I
Shit.
hooked you in, you know.
Yeah.
I got you. I mean,
Hey,
it's-
baby, we need this 2-bed, 1 bath.
money. I think we need
Look at
this.
this guy. He's funny.
I want to buy it. No, but the whole reason, yeah, I started just getting with Murph. You know, we were already getting together once or twice a week. I did his podcast, and I was like, you know, and being such a fan and consumer of podcasts, I was like, maybe we should just get together once a week and just record the whole time. I'm sure I'll say something you can clip out, and because originally it was just for the social media reels or like for the short clips, because that's what I was already doing to help promote my business, and then it just kind of turned into like, all right, well, instead of just promoting just the business, like let's kind of make like a personal brand. You know, actually, Pat posted, it was that yesterday or the day before. Yeah,
it was 1 year to the day that he sent me the text.
Yeah,
He proposed to
I
me.
proposed to him. Yeah, I was because I man, I don't know if I want to just take on the responsibility of just me and doing it all by myself. And I was like, well, who do I know that I'm good friends with already? That, you know, we have so many similar interests, and Pat was one of those guys. I mean, we would talk on the phone almost every day, work related.
Wow.
But then those you know, it was like he's one of those people that, you know, you call to talk about an update with a client. It turns into an hour conversation. They're just one of those people I feel like I
Vibe
can
with.
talk to, and you vibe with. And I was like, all right, well, he's a former pro baseball player. I've already heard a lot of those funny stories and crazy stories. Like, I'm sure those will be funny to talk about on the podcast. We're both dads, we're both athletes, we're both in real estate. Like I couldn't think of a better person, but I had this like text written out for like 2 or 3 days because I was like, it's a big thing to like ask someone to like do, like a big commitment. You got to, I'm asking you to spend a couple hours with me every week for like the next foreseeable future. And,
Was there ever, forgive me for asking this, backup if you said
no?
And then when
I
you
probably would have just did it myself, to be honest.
when you got the text, what was your
I just said yes within like
Within
2
a
seconds.
second,
Yeah.
like it was like he responded immediately,
fucking
and I
awesome.
was like,
Yeah.
he was like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
"Holy shit!" And sent that text on like a a Wednesday, and
No, I was in Kansas City for a Chiefs game, actually, on my way to tailgate, and I was working up a clip for you for the what's the payment videos that
yeah.
I was doing, and I was like, hey, I'll have this up in a second, and then like you sent me that text, and I was like, literally text getting ready, like saying yes, and then my buddies are in the background, like, hey, chug a beer, like, hey, I'm like, chug a beer, finish the text, hit send, so yeah, it was like all within 2 minutes.
So he was heavily inebriated when he said yes.
yeah.
Now he's committed.
Now he's
that
committed.
Shit. Oh, man.
What have I committed to? Fuck.
How much money did you put into this?
Well, I started to say yes before I had to start chugging beers, but yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
why was in there, as in why would we do this?
Right. Yeah.
And then ES followed.
Yeah. But yeah, he said yes like immediately, and I was like, man, why was I even worried? Because I was like, it's a big thing to ask someone. Like, me and Pat are friends, but like, I don't know if we're like friends like that. Like I just didn't, because obviously over the course of the year, him and I have gotten way closer than we were before. I mean,
Absolutely.
we were friends before this, but like, I feel like, I mean, you and I our friends have become,
just
have taken another
exactly.
like, level up because as we spend this much
Well,
time together, and
You've combined networking circles now. Because
Yeah.
I know you don't consider this a job. This is more of like a passion project. But like, this is work for
yeah, it
you
is
guys
work.
spend
Yeah.
time doing this,
Yeah.
and now you guys have, in that Venn diagram, shared each other.
Yeah.
You guys already had that before real estate, but now you have that even.
Oh,
Right.
100%.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, that was the biggest thing. But because when he sent me that, I immediately said yes. And I knew that we would figure out what we were going to talk about. Obviously, I knew that it was going to have some sort of real estate aspect to it because that's what we do. But then we got back, and I think he texted me I think it was a Sunday. I'll have to go back and look and see what the 10th
Well, if you were
of-
at a tailgate, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember if I was on the way to tailgate or if I was we were on our way to drink somewhere. My buddies we were in a car and they were handing me beers.
Pat
in the
is a
car.
baseball player.
Yeah.
and I was with other baseball players, former baseball players. But yeah,
Shocker.
right. But yeah, so like I knew that there was something that we could talk about. I knew with his background with sports, my background with sports, that there would be something. But ultimately, once we sat down, Murph's like, all right, we need to figure out what it is we're going to talk about and what we're going to do with the show, what direction we want to go. And the biggest thing for us was like, just about how like men are portrayed, fatherhood, like the difficulties of being a father.
You don't have a Bugatti?
Yeah.
Fuck. Guess we're all failures.
Yeah. So like talking about that, like things like that, and it just like manhood, fatherhood, entrepreneurship, and the mentality that it takes to be successful. Those were those core things, and that's what this is about. But like doing it in a positive way. There's so much negativity out there.
When
And
you say, forgive me for interrupting you, say positive way, what are you referring to as the negative way?
so like toxic masculinity, or the struggles of being a father, and like not like men feeling adequate because they're struggling as a father, or like bringing light to those, like, hey, you're not the only one that's feeling this way. Like, it's okay to not feel that way. And then the mentality of things, like back in the day, men had to be tough, show no emotion. Well, that's not true. Like, as a man, you need to have that emotional intelligence to be able to move forward and be able to be successful and all of that. So we wanted to bring light to these subjects that him and I were both struggling with, and we've talked about, and make people feel like, hey, you're not alone in this, and putting a positive spin on that, and making it to where we're starting a community of people that are okay to admit, like, hey, yeah, I'm struggling, but hey, look, how can I help? Like, what can we do to help? How can we be a resource for you to talk, like that you listen to us and you can get an inspiration, like, hey, you're not alone in that.
Well, here comes the first argument we have today. But before I start this, how much time do we have left?
Well, another
Yeah, you
20
said
minutes?
20
you
minutes
got
or so, yeah.
Okay, we're not limited? Okay,
No,
cool.
yeah, we're
Then let's start this. I actually think, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think, that we are too soft as men. And that
Oh,
and the pendulum has swung so much into this emotional intelligence and all this bullshit that we actually need some fucking hard men. We need some toxic masculinity. That's my
Well,
two things. I don't think we need
so-
Andrew Tate,
so
No.
but
so
I think we
that's
need some
but
of those tenants.